China wasted no time hitting back after the U.S. slapped a 10% tariff on all Chinese goods on Tuesday. In response, China announced its own countermeasures, including tariffs ranging from 10% to 15% on certain American products. 10. China will apply a 15% tariff on coal and liquefied natural gas, while crude oil, agricultural machinery, large vehicles, and pickup trucks will get a 10% tariff. This announcement came just minutes after the U.S. tariff went into effect at 12:01 a.m. ET. Interestingly, this was the only tariff that moved forward, as President Donald Trump had put a pause on the planned 25% tariffs for Canada and Mexico. Back-and-forth move between the U.S. and China increases concerns that the trade war between the world's two largest economies could escalate even further. The U.S. is unilaterally raising tariffs, which is a serious violation of WTO rules. It won't solve its own problems and only damages normal trade and economic relations. Between China and the U.S., China's Customs Tariff Commission said in a statement. China also announced an investigation into Google over alleged antitrust violations and placed restrictions on exports of tungsten and other rare earth materials key components in high-tech products. Additionally, it blacklisted U.S. gene sequencing company Illumina and PVH Corp., the parent company of Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, limiting their ability to operate in China. Meanwhile, stock markets in mainland China remained closed for the Lunar New Year holiday. However, other Asia-Pacific markets were still mostly up after hearing that the U.S. tariffs on Canada and Mexico had been delayed, according to CNBC. That said, stock markets in Hong Kong gave up some of their earlier gains. Beijing also announced that it had taken the U.S. tariff issue to the World Trade Organization, saying it was a move to protect its rights. This additional U.S. tariff is a blatant violation of WTO rules. It's an extreme act of unilateralism and trade protectionism. A Chinese Ministry of Commerce spokesperson stated, "Since Trump's first term, the U.S. has blocked the appointment of new appellate judges at the WTO, making it difficult for the organization to mediate trade disputes." However, China could still file a lawsuit to rally global support against U.S. tariffs. The U.S. is undermining the rules-based multilateral trading system, hurting the foundation of China-U.S. trade relations and disrupting global supply chains, the Chinese Commerce Ministry added. Many Chinese products have already been subject to tariffs imposed by Trump during his presidency, and some of those were either maintained or expanded by President Joe Biden. Unlike the broad U.S. tariff that affects all Chinese products, China's newly announced tariffs seem more selective. Some may have little impact. For instance, China doesn't import much U.S. crude oil, and Google has already been largely blocked in China since 2010 due to censorship disputes. However, other tariffs could be more significant. The U.S. gets about 25% of its tungsten from China, which produces around 80% of the global supply. Since tungsten is crucial for semiconductor companies like NVIDIA, this move could create supply chain issues, according to Tian-Chan Su, a senior economist at the Economist Intelligence Unit in Beijing. China's tariffs are mostly symbolic and won't significantly hurt the U.S., since they only affect about 8.5% of total U.S. exports to China. Unlike during Trump's first term, China is responding more cautiously this time, as it faces its own economic challenges. Trump is going to keep pressuring China with one move after another, Su explained. China doesn't want to escalate things because it would put even more strain on its economy. Trump announced the 10% tariff on Chinese goods over the weekend, alongside 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico, citing national security and drug trafficking concerns, particularly the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. While he agreed to delay tariffs on Canada and Mexico for 30 days following negotiations, no similar discussions seem to have happened with China. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt mentioned on Monday that Trump is expected to speak with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in the coming days. Unlike Canada, Mexico, and Colombia, which made concessions to the U.S. to avoid tariffs, China seems to be taking a different stance. "I would have tried negotiating with Trump first," said Alicia Garcia Herrero, chief economist for Asia Pacific at Natixis in Hong Kong. If China had shown some flexibility, Trump might have held off on the tariffs altogether. Trump claims the 10% tariff aims to pressure China to curb fentanyl-related chemical exports. While both sides acknowledge efforts, China insists the U.S. should focus on reducing domestic demand instead of using tariffs, which could harm future cooperation on drug control.